Hey guys, I wanted to take this time to say thank you so much for all the wonderful questions that we've been getting. We're actually going to dedicate this entire episode to answering some of those questions specifically on hormonal health. We've recently launched our community board, and this is a place where you can go and get teasers for future upcoming episodes. It's also a place where you can win giveaways and where you can ask more health questions that we will address in future episodes. I'm Jiordana, your holistic nutritionist, and you're watching the nHealth channel to learn health tips, see progress, and finally enjoy life. That's a really great question to start us off here today. So there are actually 4 different types of hormonal imbalances, and most of them can happen in women, and one of them can actually even happen in men. So the first is PCOS, PMS, endometriosis, and estrogen dominance. So let's take a really quick look at PMS first to start off with, because this one is probably the most common. So there are actually 5 different types of PMS. There's PMS-A, which the A stands for anxiety, and it's related to high estrogen and low progesterone. Then there's PMS-D, which is the D stands for depression, which is related to low estrogen and possibly low serotonin. Then there's PMS-C, which the C stands for cravings, and this is related to high insulin in the first part of your cycle. Then there's PMS-H, which the H stands for hyperhidrosis, which essentially just means water retention, and this can be related to diet or to sluggish lymph system. And then there's PMS-P, which is stands for pain, and this is related to an overactive pro-inflammatory prostaglandin chart. PCOS is related to blood sugar imbalances. Cysts begin to grow in the ovaries, preventing regular cycles, and leads to infertility, hirsutism, and increasing sugar cravings. Endometriosis is related to estrogen and progesterone imbalances, and it's characterized by painful periods, pain with bowel movements, pain with sex and urination, excessive bleeding, infertility, and blood clots. Estrogen dominance is the hormonal imbalance that can also show up in men, and it's related to abnormal periods, PMS, mood swings, low libido, weight gain or sluggish metabolism, hair loss, poor concentration, sleep disturbances, and thyroid issues. It is so important to understand the root of the hormonal imbalance, and this is probably the question I get asked the most. So thank you guys for the question, and hopefully this helps. So essentially, there are many different reasons why hormones can become imbalanced, but the most common ones starts with the liver. So the liver is actually the organ that is responsible for detoxing, synthesizing, activating, and metabolizing all hormones. So hormones actually do need to be eliminated within the hormonal cycle. If they're not eliminated, they can be reabsorbed. So if the liver is sluggish and cannot synthesize or activate or eliminate these hormones quickly enough, the body just reabsorbs them, and then we're dealing with different levels of hormones and old hormones that relate to hormonal imbalances. The second thing would be stress. So this is obviously another really huge one. So we forget that the stress response actually is a hormonal process. Like cortisol is a hormone, right? So if we have a hyperactive nervous system and the stress response is heightened, it requires an overproduction of cortisol. Now the interesting thing is, we know at the root of most hormonal disorders that there's an imbalance between estrogen and progesterone. So progesterone in itself can actually convert to cortisol if needed. So if you have a heightened stress response, your progesterone, instead of being used as progesterone for the cycle, is going to be converted to cortisol. And so we're actually going to create an imbalance there because we're going to end up with estrogen dominance because progesterone is too low. The third thing would be pathogens. So this relates to things like bacteria, viruses, candida, and parasites. And specifically, if you have an overgrowth of candida, which is a specific type of fungal infection that can grow inside the digestive tract and really systemically all over the body, candida actually produces this die-off product called glucuronic acid. And glucuronic acid will actually bind to and inhibit the elimination of certain estrogens. So if you have an overgrowth of candida, you're not going to be able to eliminate estrogen properly, and you're going to end up again with an estrogen dominance. Now the fourth one is related to diet or external factors like xenoestrogens. So with diet, most of our dairy products are full of hormones that are synthetic, because in order to get the cow to really milk for that long, they actually need to be given hormones so that they keep producing milk for like their entire lives. So all hormones are fat soluble, and most of the products that we get from dairy products are high in fat. So those hormones stay within the fat products, and then we eat them and we absorb those hormones as well. So we really want to make sure with diet that we're avoiding things like soy. Soy is another one that's heavily sprayed, and dairy products. And then when we get in the topic of xenoestrogens, so xenoestrogens just mean that these are like synthetic estrogens that are in our environment. So unfortunately, there are a lot of estrogen mimicking chemicals or molecules that are added to our beauty products, as well as our cleaning products in our house, and even things like our drinking water. So we really want to make sure that we are reading all of the ingredients that are in the products that we use in our body and on our skin, because our skin is one of the biggest porous ways that we're able to absorb things. So we want to make sure we're reading all of the ingredients, and we're going to want to avoid things like plastic bottles, because that plastic will leach into the water. Yes, of course, great question. I get this one a lot as well. Everybody has hormones. Men don't have hormones in the same kind of cyclical cycle that women do, but hormones pretty much regulate everything that goes on in our body. So with men, the way that hormonal imbalances show up is typically with an estrogen dominance. And what you'll see here is things like low testosterone, low libido, enlargement of the prostate gland or a tendency for prostate cancer. You'll see enlargement of male breasts, and you'll also see things like obesity, weight gain, and sleep disturbances. Yes, so this is the goal. We definitely want to be addressing the hormonal system in the most natural way possible, because if we take a synthetic hormone, the hormonal system is so unbelievably complex. You have no idea, what hormone you need to take at what time of day and for how long, because every hormone kind of works in opposition of one another, and they're heightened and lowered at different times of the day. So to avoid, taking a synthetic hormone and creating a further imbalance, you want to address these with natural herbs. And most of the herbs that are used for hormonal imbalances are adaptogens. Now, adaptogens really mean that they work on balance. They bring the body up to equilibrium. So we're going to discuss some of my favorite herbs to kind of rebalance the hormones, and it's really important that we do this in a natural way so that we don't lead to further hormonal imbalances. The first thing you can do to regulate hormones is through the use of supplements. So Pascofemin is one of my favorite products for hormone balancing, and it works on balancing estrogen among other important hormones to have a healthy menstrual cycles, like progesterone, follicular stimulating hormone, or FSH, or luteinizing hormone. You can take either the drops or the tablets depending on your lifestyle and what's more convenient. The second is Neurapas. This one I've actually tried myself and I absolutely loved it. This supplement uses a number of calming herbs, including passion flower, valerian, and St. John's wort, to help regulate an overactive nervous system and reduce the stress response. If you are someone who is dealing with hormonal imbalances related to stress, so likely the ones related to low progesterone symptoms, this one is crucial in combination with the Pascofemin to address the root cause of the imbalance so your body can re-regulate itself. The third is Maca. So Maca is an ancient herb, and it's a well-known adaptogen that is known for its ability to rebalance the endocrine system. There are several different types of Maca, and they all vary with the areas that they benefit the most. Red Maca is best for rebalancing hormones, while black Maca is best for energy and cognitive function. In addition to herbal intervention, you're also going to want to try some lifestyle interventions. There are a few really beneficial ones. So one of my favorites is called seed cycling. And seed cycling actually uses specific seeds at times in your cycle to help give the body the tools that it needs, so the types of fats that it needs, to help create estrogen in the first part and progesterone in the second part. The easiest way to do seed cycling is in the first part of your cycle, so from days 1 to 14, estrogen should be increasing. So this means we're going to want to take 1 to 2 tablespoons of ground flax seeds and 1 to 2 tablespoons of pumpkin seeds. In the second part of your cycle, so days 15 to 28, progesterone should be increasing. So this means you're going to take 1 to 2 tablespoons of sunflower seeds and 1 to 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds. It does take about 3 months to actually see progress, so you want to make sure you're actually sticking it out for the entire 3 months. The other things we can do through diet is making sure that we are avoiding dairy. I've already mentioned the dangers of dairy and soy. We also really want to be careful with the amount of sugar that we're having. So remember how I told you that there's PMSC with increased cravings? Insulin is also a hormone. So if we're eating too much sugar, having high insulin is definitely also going to throw off our hormonal imbalance, and it's going to create more inflammatory markers, which can be related to PMSP and inflammation of the ovaries. The other thing you can do is add healthy things into your diet. So hormones really love healthy fats because hormones are based off of fat. So we're really looking for these anti-inflammatory fats, and a lot of the times they come from nuts and seeds, from fatty fish, but we also are going to want to increase things like avocados. Hormones really love protein, so increasing lean proteins is going to be really beneficial, and then of course making sure you're getting enough leafy greens. So if hormonal balances go untreated, you really risk developing some of the more serious related disorders like PCOS or endometriosis. And if you're somebody who has these disorders, or you know somebody who does, they'll tell you that they're very painful and they can really contribute to negative symptoms that'll negatively impact your life in the future. Hormones are not just the things that regulate our menstrual cycle. Hormones are related to all areas of the body. So if we live with underlying imbalances, we can risk negative symptoms related to our moods, our sleep and wake cycles, our urination process, our energy levels, our hair loss or hair gain, as well as obesity. So it's really important that we get a handle on or get to the root of these hormonal disorders so we don't risk developing these symptoms later on. If you're somebody who's dealing with hormonal imbalances and you want to use a natural intervention, it's really important that you give a 3 to 6 month window to allow the body and the endocrine system to really re-regulate. If you guys have any questions, you can put them up on our new community board, or you can put them in the comments below. If you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe. Our community is growing rapidly, and I'm so excited about the amount of momentum this channel is getting. I had so much fun filming this episode. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next week on another episode of NHealth TV.